Hello.
Sandy, is it raining over there yet?
Yes,
Light or hard?
just started about 10 minutes ago.
Just started.
Dick? Don't you love computers? God. Should have heard it before I had it tuned.
Andy, you just got my wife upset. My German Shepherd has kennel cough, and she thought that was the dog coughing.
Should I put on a mask? That's what you get for socializing the thing. You're on mute, Frank. Hi, Nancy.
Good evening.
Hi, Nancy.
Good evening, Dick.
Good evening, Nancy.
Good evening, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Good evening, Dick.
David's in deep cover.
So Sandy, you know what's supposed to happen tonight, right?
No,
You're assistant chair, right?
last I knew.
So you will be introducing Jay as the acting chair for tonight.
I talked to David about it yesterday.
Okay, so you do know about it then.
I've known
Okay.
about it for some time, thank you.
You're welcome.
Doesn't seem fair. I was railroaded.
You what?
I was railroaded.
Well, I tell you, we can reverse it, Tom.
Hi, Scott.
Evening, Scott.
Hey, how you doing? Oh, there we are. Hi, everybody.
We got a quorum. Look at that.
Yeah, there's 3.5 if we count Frank.
I'm not going there.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good, so am I. How you doing, Frank?
This is the only place is not raining over here.
Ah, yeah, it's sprinkling here.
Where is over here, Frank?
Fogged in Springs, or commonly known as Stockton Springs. The sun is shining other places. It's completely fogged in over here. The peninsula.
All righty.
Are you aware that in 1759, the governor of Massachusetts ran a road from Thomaston to Stockton Springs.
You know, in 1779, the British had the entire 26 fleet of the American Navy trapped in here. And so a decision was made to burn all the ships. And so I looked for probably 6 months using a depth finder, trying to find it. We had a storm one day, and I looked out to the embankment, and literally 100 feet from the shore are the ribs of the Reliance. And not only that, there was a path out to it where the University of Maine scientists used to go out and take recordings, everything else. It was fascinating.
That's off Sears Island, right?
This is in the bay, the Penobscot Bay.
Yeah.
It's a gigantic bay. It's like 5 or 6 miles across.
Yeah.
Leave it to the open ocean.
Hi, Jay.
Everybody hear me okay?
You're a little muted.
Not loud.
Is that better?
Tiny bit.
Is that any better?
Oh,
No.
Jay, where you can mute and unmute yourself, usually in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. Should be a little up arrow next to the microphone. If you click on that and then on audio settings, you should be able to turn up your microphone. You're muted.
How about that? Is that better?
it is.
Yes.
Okay. I gotta get off this laptop and get home to my PC.
Looks like you've been out in the sun, Jay.
Well, I've been playing a little golf, Frank.
You lied about the little.
It looked like a ghost beside you.
The sun will be out in Maine soon.
I got some today.
Good.
Took a 10-minute nap out in the bright sunshine. It was awesome.
How are we going to do this? Are we going to vote to make Jay the
Facilitator, yes.
facilitator?
We'll go through the whole thing, Scott. You'll be a
Okay.
part of it.
Well, I knew that.
Evening, Bill.
Hi, Bill. getting started early at least allows us to see if the computer's working properly. I think the last time it took me 5 minutes to get into the thing.
I never know until somebody shakes their head when I say, "Can you hear me?" So that was a crapshoot.
Where are you, down south?
Huh?
Are you down south, Jay?
Yes, I'm in North Carolina.
Frank, Frank,
Hello.
are we going to get a break in some of these meetings next month?
No.
Never ask a
Vacation,
question.
Nancy?
Yeah, I need one.
Never ask a question you can't anticipate the answer.
There she is.
My golly, she is. Look at that.
All right, that's my German Shepherd. Very much this.
Hello, am I here?
Hello.
Hello, am I here?
Yes, you are.
Wait a minute, I'll check. Oh. Hi, Janice.
I don't see anybody. Come down and look at it.
Yes, tech support.
That's what I usually do. Kim, get out of here. I need help. No, I'm all set right now, thanks.
It says waiting, waiting.
Well, why did you try it at 7 o'clock, Janice? Oh. What do you want me to look at?
I don't know what this means. It says waiting.
Hello, are you there?
I did. I talked, Nancy said she heard me, but
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
We can see you.
well, I can't see anybody. What if I X this out?
All right. It looks like 7 o'clock on my clock. So I guess we'll start by welcome to the April 28th Lincolnville Planning Board meeting. I am Sandy Delano. I'm the vice chair of this panel. Our chairperson has seen fit to take the day off. It appears we have a quorum. So can I ask members to identify themselves, please? Starting with Dick.
Dick Mullen, Lincolnville.
Scott.
Scott Harrison, Lincolnville.
Bill.
Bill Norfleet, Lincolnville.
Janice.
Janice K. Lincolnville Center.
It appears we have a quorum. For this evening, Jay has graciously offered his services to facilitate this meeting. Before I go there, what I do want to do is, are there any other alternatives? Just Jay? alternatives?
Bill is an alternate.
I also, Bill. I'd like to hear a motion to allow our two alternates to participate in this fine assembly. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make
I
that
think
motion.
you only have one, because you got 4 members here, so you only have one open position.
Never saw that.
Okay. And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. So motion passes. Secondly, Jay has offered to facilitate the meeting this evening. So I'd like to hear a motion that perhaps that says Jay will facilitate this meeting. A second.
Second.
All in favor? Dick,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Bill? Bill's muted. That was a yes. I could see his hand waving. Janice?
Yes, can you see me?
I can. The motion passes. So with that, Jay, it appears you are authorized to facilitate this meeting.
Just to clear up the record, there are 4, Sandy, Dick, Scott, and Janice, sitting members of the planning board present. There are 2 alternates present, but there's only 1 opening on the board. So one of those 2 alternates is going to have to be the one designated to sit as a voting member
I can't
of
hear.
the board.
So do we have to see who wants to be that person, or?
I'm gonna get off.
That's not a problem.
Get
Okay,
lunch.
so Bill is the sitting alternate appointed to the planning board for voting purposes this evening.
Okay,
Okey doke.
Okay. And I am an appointed alternate, but I'm been appointed to serve as a facilitator for this meeting tonight then.
and thank you for that.
You're welcome for that. The agenda for this evening that everybody is looking at and is posted on the board was notified a couple of days ago that the number 1 shoreland zone application was withdrawn. They requested more time to prepare, and therefore the agenda for this evening is going to consist of 2 items as opposed to 3, 1 commercial site plan and 1 shoreland zoning application. I would ask the board, because I've looked at both of these applications, if they would consider changing the order of review this evening. The shoreland zoning application seems to be rather straightforward and pretty simple. I expect that the commercial site plan is going to take a little bit longer. So in fairness to the shoreland applicant, if we could do that first, discuss that, and then we can move on to the second one where we might be taking a little longer to review, if that's okay with the board.
Fine here.
Fine with me.
Okay, so I think we have a consensus now, so we'll go to the shoreland zoning application. That is a review of requested additions to a non-conforming camp located at 10 Loon Cry Lane, map 3, lot 33, which I believe is off of Mariner Lane. Is that on Norton's Pond? I think so.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. James Nelson is the owner, and he'll also be the presenter. And we're going to be reviewing this under section 12C of the land use ordinance, non-conforming structures. David, is Mr. Nelson available?
Take me just a minute. There's quite a few attendees, but I saw Nelson on here a moment ago. Hang on. They're headed your way.
They are muted. Hi there.
Hello there.
Good evening.
James and Sarah, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Jay Foster. I'm the acting facilitator this evening for the planning board meeting. We have your application for a shoreland application, and the project description that we have, so that you're going to add a 6-foot concrete foundation, raise a roof to conform with a 20-foot limit, and move the camp away from the pond, which is Norton's Pond. Can we verify that?
Correct.
Okay. Move the camp away from the pond 9 feet to accommodate an 8-foot 4-inch by 27 4-inch deck. Is that what the application is for?
That's correct.
Okay. The application seems to be in order, so if we could have a little debrief from you is exactly what it is that you're requesting.
Well, sure. Sarah and I bought the cottage a couple, 3 years ago, and the floor was rotted, so we kind of lifted it out of the dirt and put a new floor in. I'd like to bring it back so we could have a nice little deck and then a second floor bedroom with a balcony that comes into the building. I'm going to try to keep it down low like it is now in order to accommodate a second floor. The 20-foot restriction's kind of tight, but we'll do fine.
Are you the contractor?
Excuse me?
Are you the contractor?
I am the contractor, yep.
Okay. So you're Brothers in Arms Masonry?
That's right.
Okay.
So the 6-foot basement, I might reduce it to 5'4", only because initially was going to raise the building and bring it back to the street, the driveway. But apparently the measurement for the elevation is from the lowest point on the water side of the house, and that's going to jeopardize the second floor. So I'm going to try to shallow the foundation up so that I'm not into a water situation down the road. I don't need the space other than basically a hot water heater and a holding tank. But other than that, that's the gist of it.
This is going to be a full concrete floored walled basement supporting the structure when you move it?
It is, yes.
Okay. So this lot, it looks to appear to be, it's 100 foot deep from, is that Loon Cry Lane that showed on your drawing behind the cabin?
That's right.
Okay, so the lot's 100 feet deep?
100 feet and 50 wide.
Only 50 wide? Wow, so the next door piece of property is yours, but it's not
right.
Part of it? Okay. So we're only dealing with a 100 by 50 foot wide lot then?
That's right.
Okay. The proposal is to move the camp. So you're going to lift the camp as is, before or after the construction, I'm not sure which. And then put in dig a hole for a foundation and put in a foundation that's going to be anywhere from 5'4" to 6 feet.
Correct.
Completely concrete wall, and then reset the building down on that foundation.
That's right.
And build a deck on the front of that that's going to be 8 feet 4 inches by 27.
Yeah, 8'4", yeah.
Okay. And the front of that deck will be no closer to the water than the current building.
Exactly.
Okay. And you're going to reduce, and you're going to keep the height within the height restrictions of the ordinance. However, whatever means you need to do that, either less than the basement or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Or to keep it at 20 feet.
Right.
Okay. All right, any questions from the board?
So currently the cottage is about, the front side is about 16 inches off the ground. When we bought the cottage, it was virtually rotting in the ground. The guy that Mr. Drinkwater owned it for years. I grew up there and I probably saw him 6 times there over those years, and we were fortunate enough to buy it. But like I said, pretty simple, small place. It's just something has to be done, just to preserve it. Right now it's on just some cribbing that's rotting. I didn't post it or anything because I knew I was going to do something down the road eventually for good.
Okay. So, Frank, the numbers here, 30% expansion. I assume it's going to be expansion to the footprint, so it'll be just the deck that we're considering?
It's just the deck that she's considering.
Okay.
And excuse me. And he's in the 75-foot range, which means he has a footprint of 1,000 square feet that's allowed. And if you look at he's got a page on the, excuse me, he's got a page on there where he's showing that the total surface that's going to be used is 200 feet for the driveway, 209.6 for the walkway, 409.3 for the cottage, and 227.65 for the deck, a total of 1,046.55. And he's allowed to have 1,047.6. So he's leaving a lot of room for growth.
Frank, a question on the, well, it isn't really noted. I don't know what the side, it's 13 feet, 8 inches to the right, to the 100-foot line. But there's no dimension to the left to the 100-foot line, but because they own the property next door, is that relevant?
Yes, yes, it is. Deck. Yeah, you're right, Jay. The deck cannot go over there. It has to be at least 15 feet from that property on the left.
Okay. It doesn't really. because
Already
they own it, but if
13.8 on the right, wasn't it, James?
Yeah, 13.8 on the
Right side.
Yeah, the right side.
Timmy side.
Timmy's
The
side.
left.
Timmy Hill.
Okay, so the left side, as Jay pointed out, is you can't make that more non-conforming going toward that side than the camp already is. If the camp is at 18.4, you would have to bring that deck so that it's 15 feet away at least. The
Right.
property. That would have to be cut down.
I think that 18.4 is the depth of the camp, but I don't see a dimension for the side setback.
Everything is right there. We don't have the
Oh,
measurements.
right. I
Well,
understand.
can we do the? can we do
Well,
the-
it can't be 18.4 because it's 26.6 on the other side. It's 18.4 feet to setback from the property
That's
line.
from the front of the deck to the back of the building.
Yeah, that's
That's 18 feet from the front of the camp to the back of the camp.
right, exactly.
What I'm
So
concerned about is
basically,
the setback, the side setback from the side boundary.
let's
That's
understand.
Okay.
over 15 feet, right?
So the bottom line is then, whatever setback the camp is, if it's less than 15 feet, that's where the deck would have to also be set.
Okay.
And that's pertinent.
In other
because
words,
if you sell that piece of property on the other side, then you don't have a setback to your property line. Even though you own that one now, you might not in the future.
It doesn't matter that he does own it. It would have to meet the setback of whatever the non-conformance is now, or 15.
362.
Oh, okay.
362.
So we got 1,000 square feet, and we're within that. The dimension of the deck is not exceeding 30%, and he's going to stay below 20 feet when he moves the building back, correct? Okay. So the only other thing we're dealing with now is
14.
that 12C.
So you have to just do in the back. and then-
12C2 on page 6, which is foundations. It says whenever a new, enlarged, or replacement foundation is constructed under a non-conforming structure, the structure and new foundation must be placed such that the setback requirement is met to the greatest practical extent as determined by the planning board, basing the decision on the criteria specified in section 2C3 relocation below. All that means is that we have to determine, because you're building a new foundation, that you're moving this back from the water to the furthest practical extent as determined by us. Is that clear? You look a little quizzical there, Sarah. So basically, it's our decision whether, because you're building a new foundation, this building has been moved back in your lot to the furthest practical extent. You have a 100 by 50-foot lot. You have a road in back. You have a parking space for your car, which is reasonable. Most people would want that. And you're already moving the building back 9 feet to accommodate the deck that you're building. So I would put it to the board for discussion that the furthest practical extent this building can be back from the water, because of putting a new foundation under it, is where they propose to put it.
I can't see any problem with where they're going to put it. And I agree with Jay that that's as far as they can go. So that's where the foundation has to be.
Any other comments?
I agree.
Okay. If there's no other comments, I think that the board agrees that the proposal to move the camp back 9 feet and put it on a new foundation, which is within the requirements of the ordinance and meets the setback rules. The footprint has not been increased except by the deck, which was within the 30% rule, which is allowed. and we've discussed the side setbacks, which are going to be adhered to. I noticed that when looking at the land use map of Lincolnville, that this lot is not in resource protection, which is a requirement of the ordinance also. So if there's no further discussion on this, anybody has any other items that they'd like to bring up that pertain to this application, then I would request a motion.
I'd put forth a more motion that, is that you're asking for a motion to approve?
I'm asking for a motion to whatever you want to make a motion on for as far as where we should.
I,
go with the
I think they should, I think it should be approved the way he's got it drawn, contingent with him moving that deck back to where the edge of the camp is, or 15 feet, whichever is farthest.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay. Is there any other further discussion then? So Scott's motion is to approve contingent on the fact that the realignment for the side setback will be adhered to, and Frank can give you guidance on that. Take a vote on that, Dick?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. We have an approval for the application. I would ask James, well, you are the contractor, James. So I would ask that well, actually the board requests that you use best management practices on the soil erosion. I'm going to be digging a foundation here pretty close to the water. It's a sensitive area. So if you don't know already, and you may because you're a contractor, Frank can give you guidance on best soil erosion management protection thing. And
Yeah,
I would also ask if you have any urge to do anything different than's been approved this evening. You're in a very sensitive area, so if you think about changing anything that we've approved, please talk to Frank before you do it.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay,
No.
great.
We're not here.
Enjoy your deck.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Frank.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the second item on the agenda for this evening is a commercial site plan. Guns N' Roses proposes a firearms dealer office to be located at 55 Van Sickle Road. This is map 32, lot 122. And Amber Hanson will be presenting on behalf of the owner, Mr. Orman. And we will be reviewing this under the commercial site plan ordinance section 18. The site is an existing commercial agricultural site. The building that is in question is already in existence. This property and that building are owned by Mr. Orman. Before we get underway and I see Amber's already here. Hi, Amber.
Yes. Hi.
Were you here for the introductions? Do you know who's here?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, great. Before we proceed, I wanted to just bring the board up to date on where we are with this and why we're at the point we're at. This application from Mr. Orman for Guns N' Roses was first presented to the board on November 12th, 2020. And as far as I can see, it's pretty much the same application we received at that time. I think the last page of the application is actually dated 2020, if I remember right. Yeah, 10/7/2020. So the board received that application. We were looking at it on November 12th. We had a pre-application meeting at that time, and then we took it up for the submissions that were given to us with the application. We went through the application and the submissions and found that it was complete and voted at that time that the submissions were complete. We had a meeting on December 9th in 2020. The board reviewed the application using sections 11, 12, and 13, which are our development standards. Based on everything that we've been presented and have been asked for and presented in the first meeting, we reviewed the application against the standards for development and voted to approve the application. On January 8th, 2020, an appeal of the planning board decision was given to the appeals board of Lincolnville, and they took up that appeal. The appellants in that argued that they resided within 500 feet of the boundary lines of the property that were in question as far as the application. to the commercial site, and that they had not been notified of the meeting on November 12th that initiated the application review. The March 3rd decision was handed down from the Lincolnville Appeals Board, and it upheld the appellant's argument that they had not been notified. It was in violation of section 7.3 B of the Commercial Site Plan Review Ordinance. And the Appeals Board remanded it back to the Lincolnville Planning Board and I will read the decision from the Appeals Board. Based on the above findings of fact and conclusions, the Board of Appeals voted 5 in favor and 0 opposed to grant your application for administrative appeal, remand the matter to the Planning Board, Lincolnville Planning Board, for further action consistent with this decision. I've talked to Frank a little bit about this and the decision definition of going with the decision, further action consistent with the decision, when the decision was that 7.3B had been violated and that the notification was due. The argument could be made that we simply have to change that and have the application redone to where application announcements will go out to everybody within 500 feet. I'm going to open it up to the board for discussion on the matter, but I'll give you my personal opinion on it is that because of the way that this was presented to the Appeals Board, that notification was not given. And I have received word that since then, the town office has received a lot of public input about this situation. It's my feeling that based on the Appeals Board decision, we should go back and review the application, which we have received again from Mr. Arman through Amber, and review it as a application for a commercial site plan from the beginning.
I would agree with that one.
Okay, that's one. Anybody else have any input on that?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right.
First of all, has everybody who needs to be notified been notified that we're having this meeting tonight?
Hello, this is Amber. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, sure. So everyone's been notified. I did get one letter back from a John Gurney, and it said that it was unable to get delivered because Mallard did not have a receptacle.
So everybody was notified in the manner prescribed in the ordinance of the date, time of this meeting this evening. That's within 500 feet of the applicant's boundary. That was done by certified receipt mail.
Yes.
Is the town office in possession of those receipts?
I sent the United States Postal Service provided the tracking numbers and addresses for each of the letters.
To who?
I sent it with the packages that arrived at the town office on Friday.
Do we have the receipts for all those notifications, Frank?
Not in the package that you have, Jay. It's not in any of the packages that we received.
It was
no
on
receipts. They showed that there were 7 people that were notified.
There was 14 on the list that was provided.
That's not what we received.
So if you looked at the top of the package that was sent on Friday, it had a letter from the United States Postal Service with a tracking number. It was the first page in that box.
Well, I'm going to interject here. We are sitting here as the voting members of the Lincolnville Planning Board, reviewing an application for a commercial site. And we're looking at the ordinance. 7.3B says the applicant shall give written notice of date, time, and place of meeting to abutting property owners and anyone within 500 feet of the property as shown on the most recent tax records and parties who have filed a notice of interest. I don't know if anybody has a notice of interest filed with the town office, but we can check that, I'm sure. Notice shall be in by certified mail, return receipt requested. Applicant shall provide an evidence of said mailing the receipts to the CEO. This notice shall indicate the time, date, place, and of the planning board consideration of the application. The review will not take place until this requirement is met. As far as I can tell, nobody sitting here on the planning board has seen the receipts of the mailings to the abutters.
So on the top of the package information that was sent, there was a letter from the United States Postal Service. There was one letter and it has the tracking numbers and the addresses, because if you just send the receipts for the certified mail, it doesn't have the addresses on the receipt. So there's no way to prove that the address was there. So whoever received the package at the town office should have opened it up. And on the very top one, there was a letter that I got signed by the United States Postal Service showing the tracking numbers and the addresses for the 14 letters that was sent.
Did it show that they received them?
So with that, it shows the tracking numbers then that they were received. There's no way for me to go and I can, and it shows that they were sent.
So they don't have to send back or return receipt to the town office and say they received it?
There's no way to physically do that with a certified letter.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, that's new to me too. I mean, when you go to the post office and mail something certified mail, you get a receipt back from the sender, or actually the receiver, that they actually received that. You received that receipt back. And that's
so the receipt that I have is what they sent when I sent it for the United States Postal Service. I'll show you the receipt. And that's why I had them produce a letter.
Why does Amber get those? Why doesn't that go to Frank?
Well, and the applicant would get them because the applicant is the one who sent them. But the ordinance requests that those receipts be presented to the CEO so they can be put into the planning board packages so that we can see that the receipts were received and that all the abutters received the notice. That's the intent of the ordinance.
Thank you.
So these are the letters that are sent. And if you look at it closely, there is no address that's on the certified mail slips.
Yeah, but where's the receipt?
So the receipt is the receipt that you get when you send a certified letter is it goes on the top of this. This is pulled off. The certified mail letter goes on top of the letter and there's nothing to physically send back.
Frank, is what she holding what we normally get back when we ask for receipts for certified mail?
Well, you're looking for two things. First of all, you're looking for a list of the abutters, and that's not there. The list that is in that package only shows 7 abutters. And the thing that they showed the first time was that receipt for everything they sent out for all of the applicants, and that's what you should have, those two things, because I agree with the fact you're not going to necessarily get back all the green signed cards. So a lot of times you can't find the people, but as a minimum, you have to have an identification of who's the map and lot sent to, and here's the receipt that a certified letter was sent out. Don't have those two things in complete form.
So on the package that I sent on that was arrived at the town office, there was a letter. There was one letter that was attached, and I can even show you the date that the United States Postal Service sent it to me, that states the tracking numbers, the certified letters, and the addresses for each applicant.
Amber,
because if I sent,
Amber, first of all, every one of the packets that went out to every one of these board members who have to make a decision on this tonight should have received who this was sent to. There should have been 8 copies of that if that was conclusive. But even at that, I don't believe that would have satisfied what Jay just read is what the ordinance is requiring.
well, I'm not sure exactly how else I can show proof that the 14 letters were sent, except for a letter literally from the post office.
Well, you proved that the last time on the 7 that you sent out. That's what we're looking for on what you sent out this time.
Amber,
Well, so
Amber, did you mention you had 14?
I sent 14 this time.
Why? I thought there were 7. I just heard somebody mention 7. Where did the 14 come from?
So I took the addresses that Frank gave me, and I also sent them to any other existing neighbor that was in the vicinity, more than 500, just to ensure that no one was missed.
Okay. So in your opinion, enough notices went out to abutters.
Sorry, I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
You're on mute, Jay.
Mhm.
Jay's muted.
You're muted.
I'm sorry, I had a phone ringing in the background here.
Oh,
So we have enough abutters, in your opinion, notified of the existence of this meeting this evening. You sent all those abutters a notification, and you have the receipts for those.
I have the postal receipt that was printed. I have each of these, and I also have a letter from the United States Postal Service, the head of the post office service here in Lexington, Massachusetts, showing the tracking numbers and the addresses and stating that it was all sent by certified mail.
Okay, Amber,
Like
what,
anybody, nobody's questioning it was sent.
No.
What we need is the receipts that they were received. That's what we're after. That the ordinance requires us to see receipts of all abutters who were notified, that they were in fact notified. That's what we have to have in front of us in order to proceed. It says very clearly, the review will not take place until this requirement is met. So we're.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how you show proof, because if you literally go into the tracking, if I put in the tracking information and I went through this with the United States Postal Service, I was there for an hour making sure everything was done and every avenue was explained to me. And basically how these are sent is this is the top part that comes off the certified letter. And then you can put in the tracking number for each of the letters that went off. But when you put in the tracking number through the United States Postal Service, it will only tell you the town and the state and the zip code of where the letter was sent. It will not tell you the exact address. So that's why that's why I got a letter stating that all of these were sent, and that one from John Gurney, they were unable to deliver it.
Amber, I don't think you're getting the point here that we don't need proof they were sent. We need proof they were received.
But how am I supposed to have proof
know,
that they
Amber,
were received?
The point is, it's not our responsibility to make sure that you've been notified that they were received. We need to see proof that they were in fact received by the abutter per the ordinance. Otherwise, we can't continue with the review.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out with the I can sit down with Frank and the USPS service, and maybe I need to appeal the ordinance. But the issue is there's no physical way that this is the top part that comes off from the letter. And when something's sent to certified mail, it's literally they post it with tape on the letter.
I think we cleared that up, Amber. Nancy, did you have a comment?
Yes, you're supposed to fill out a cardboard card that goes on the back of each letter, which is sent back to you if you have your address on it.
So when I went through USPS, this is what they gave me, and this is the exact instructions that they told me, and this is the way I did it last time as well.
Well, there are different registered letters and certified letters. You may be asking the right thing when you go to the post office.
This is return receipt.
The last time you did it.
Yes, return receipt. Thank you, Bill.
With the little green index card.
Exactly.
I
would also point out that the last time you did that, you didn't notify certain people that were supposed to be notified, and that's what caused the appeal.
Yes, and I understand that, but the ones that were notified, there was no mention that through that process that there was another step to go through.
If you go on Google and look up return receipt, USPS offers a service called return receipt. It gives you peace of mind, providing you with a signed copy, either electronic email or an actual copy. Yep, right there.
I will say that in all my years on the planning board, this is the first time I've ever run into 7.3B where we didn't get receipts. And I don't see this been a problem for anyone else. So I don't understand why it's been a problem in this particular instance. But with what I have sitting in front of me, I don't know how the other members of the board feel about it, but what I have sitting in front of me is not meet the requirement of 7.3B.
All right, so should I just schedule another meeting and resend out letters?
If you resend them out, signature requested, signature receipt, like Bill said, or Dick.
Just go on Google, tells you.
Well, I wish that, the US, I mean, literally, I've spent a lot of time at the United States Postal Service here in Lexington going through all the different processes.
I just had a little difference of opinion with the post office. And what I found was that they don't always exactly know what the best way to do something, a given task is. It's amazing, but it was a registered mail versus certified mail thing. And
But the ordinance states that it has to be certified mail, correct?
Correct.
So this was sent by certified mail.
Yes, but you don't have a return receipt.
Okay.
Return receipt.
The point is, Amber, we don't have the receipts, and we're the ones that need to see them. So,
Okay. Well, what would you like me to? Would you like me to reschedule this meeting then?
let me ask you a question, Amber. Does Mr. Arman or you have a copy of the commercial site plan review ordinance for Lincolnville?
Yes, I have it online.
Okay. If you go through that ordinance and check with Frank on anything you don't understand, if you go through that ordinance, what we require is very specifically laid out in the submission requirements and also the requirements for the application that we have to review to make sure everything sure is there for completeness before we go ahead and review it against the standards. So if you just follow the ordinance and do what's requested in the ordinance, we don't run into these kinds of problems. But we do run into the problem, especially when the ordinance is very specific in saying the review will not take place until this requirement is met. If in the opinion of the board, the requirement's not been met, we don't continue the review.
Okay.
Does everybody have a copy of the application?
Yes.
Yes,
Came in the packages, correct?
yes.
And I did notice, and I mentioned this before, that the application is dated 10/7/2020. So I'm not going to ask Amber, is this exactly the same application?
It was because there was no issues with the application before, except for this. The only issue is these letters.
But what's missing on the new application, Amber, it still only shows 7 abutters as opposed to the.
Let me ask you another question, Amber. Did you get a copy of the appeals board decision?
No, I'm not.
You have not. Did Mr. Arman receive a copy of the appeals board decision?
Not that I'm aware of.
Really? Can we check, Frank, with the town office and make sure that a appeals board decision was sent to Mr. Arman?
I can check tomorrow.
Okay. That appeals board decision is going to outline, what we have to do. But in looking through your application, what I noticed after reviewing the appeals board decision was that the list of residents that you supplied with this application does not include the appellants in the appeals board case.
Okay.
It's true.
So the people who submitted an appeal to the appeals board, who it's been stipulated are within 500 feet of the property line and won that appeal, are not on the application's residents listed within 500 feet.
Okay.
You understand that? Okay. All right. Is there any other comments from the board on where we should go from here with this?
Well, I think that what I should do is go back and reschedule this for 2 weeks from now.
No, we can't do that.
I don't want to come back 2 weeks from now and have unanswered questions again and have this thing go on forever. So I would urge you to, first of all, review the ordinance. And second of all, if you have any questions at all, please ask the CEO for clarification. So that the next time the board receives the information that's required in the ordinance, everything that we need is there. Things go much smoother when the ordinance is simply complied with.
Okay.
I will, because we have a little bit of time, I will put this out to the board for discussion. The board is allowed, I think it's under 10.1A, to waive submission requirements. The review cannot continue because 7.3B has not been complied with. But does anybody feel comfortable with looking over the submission requirements required of the applicant and waive some of the things that we don't think would be pertinent and don't have to be included in the submissions?
Given the current state, I don't think we should be waiving anything. We should proceed from beginning to end with the whole process.
Well, that's part of the process, but the individual submission requirements include, for instance, phosphate export. We can waive that. The planning board's allowed to do that under 10.1. That means that the applicant doesn't have to come up with a phosphorus export plan for a 350-foot square building they're going to make into an office. That's what I'm saying. There are things in the submission requirements that aren't really pertinent to this application. We can waive those now, provide that list of waive items to the applicant, then they don't have to submit those as submission required items. Or
I would think that's a reasonable request to make. Yeah, it's just reasonable.
I think it
It's
would.
not perfect.
I think it would save time for. We have some time tonight to get some things out of the way, and so the next meeting might be packed full. It would be good to get it done.
Anybody else?
Do it.
Okay. So looking over submission requirements, starting with section 10, we would need a fully executed signed copy. We would need that. We need evidence of payment. Frank can supply us with that when we ask for it. 9 copies of the written material. Amber would have that if she reads the ordinance and supply those 9 copies. The submission requirements we've just Amber, for your information, we under 10.1A of the ordinance can waive items we don't think are required in submissions. You can also request that the board waive items that you don't think need to be submitted. You have that option.
So,
Any submission requirement that we waive will have to be recorded. Nancy will have that. That'll be in the minutes, so it'll be a recorded waiver. And under the general information, 10.2, which is what's required as submission items, will require the property owner's name and address. Will require the location of all required buildings and setbacks and buffers. Will require the names and addresses of all property owners within 500 feet of any and all property boundaries. You need to pay particular attention to that one, Amber. The names and addresses of all consultants working on the project. Does anybody think that's required?
I don't think that there's anyone working on the project
Okay, so
because it's already an existing building.
let's say 10.2D is a request for a waiver from the board. A sketch map showing a general location of the site. We already have that. Boundaries of all contiguous property under the total or partial control of the owner or applicant. We have that. Tax map and lot number of parcel or parcels on which the project is located. We want to see that. A copy of the deed. I don't see that in the application. We're going to want to see that. Okay. The name, registration number, and seal of the person who prepared the plan. I think we can waive that. That's I. I don't think anybody, the name, registration number, and the seal of the person who prepared the plan. The plan, as far as I can tell, was done by Mr. Harmon, correct?
Right. Yeah. Waive it.
All right, waive it. Evidence of the applicant's technical and financial capability. We have a letter from the bank already in the package.
Yep.
Conditions of district classifications, including overlay on sub-districts of the property and location. I think we can waive that because there is no district overlapping in the applicant's property. So that was what, 10.3A. The bearings and length of all property lines and the property of the developed source of this information. The bearings and length of all the property lines have any bearing on the application as far as the building is concerned.
We have that.
We can waive the C also through 10.3C. Location, names, present widths of existing public and or private streets. We'll want to see that. Location, dimensions, ground floor elevation of the existing buildings. I don't see that on the application now, so we'll want to see that. Location and dimensions of existing driveways, parking and loading areas, walkways and sidewalks. We should have some drawing of the driveway, the parking in front, that sort of thing. I don't see that in the plan. Location of open drainage courses, wetlands, stone walls, graveyards, fences, stands, or trees. I would consider that to be waivable because it really isn't pertinent on just the small building that's under discussion. It's 10.3H. Agreement on that? Okay. Direction of existing surface water drainage across the site. This is an existing agricultural site with an existing building that's been in place as far as I know for quite a while. I don't know if we really need to see the surface water drainage across the entire site. So I would consider that to be waivable. Any comments?
I agree.
Okay.
Yes.
That is odd. Okay. Location nearest fire hydrant, dry hydrant, other water supply. We'd want to see that. Location, front view, dimensions, and lighting of existing proposed signs. I believe there was no signs proposed.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so that's waivable. So that's K. Location and dimensions of any existing easements and copies of existing covenants and deed restrictions. We'd want to see that because of the proposed use of that structure. 10.4, estimated demand for water supply and sewage disposal together with location dimensions of all provisions for water supply and wastewater disposal. I don't think there's even a bathroom in this building, if I remember correctly.
I don't think so.
There's not, it's not, it's in the barn area. There's no restroom there.
Okay, so that's 10.4A. Direction of proposed surface water drainage across the site and from the site with an assessment of impacts on downstream properties.
Okay.
Waivable?
Yes.
I think
So,
So 10.4B.
Yep.
Provisions for handling all solid waste, including hazardous material. We definitely want to see that. Location, dimension, and materials to be used in the construction of proposed driveways, parking. I think everything's in place already. So
There's no new existing building or facilities being built.
We need to see D. Proposed landscaping and buffering.
Was
There's
that a
nothing.
waiver? Excuse me, was D a waiver?
D was a waiver.
Okay, thank you.
E is proposed landscaping and buffering. Do we want to see?
There's
if
nothing.
that? There was none proposed. Okay.
No.
F, location, dimensions, and ground floor elevation of the proposed building. We definitely want to see that. I don't see that in the application. Location, front view, materials, and dimensions of proposed signs together with the method of securing the sign. There are no signs.
Well, Jay, back to, Jay,
Would be waivable. Yes.
the location, dimensions, and that sort of thing. That's existing buildings. Do you need to put that in there?
Are you talking about G?
That's G.
Location, front view, materials, and dimensions of proposed signs together with the method for securing the sign.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong one.
Location and type of exterior lighting, we'd want to see that.
Yeah.
Location of utilities, including fire protection systems, definitely want to see that. General description of the proposed use or activity, I think we have that, but we need to see it. An estimate of the peak hour and daily traffic to be generated, I believe that's already in there. Stormwater calculations, erosion, sedimentation control measures, and water quality phosphorus export management provisions. I don't think we need to see all that.
no change.
So that's 10.4 L. And copies of applicable state approvals and permits provided, however, the board may approve development plans. We definitely want to see if there's a license being applied for from the government or the state or anything like that. We definitely want to see that. So I would propose to the planning board that the planning board, after having discussed waiving requirements for submissions, request that the 10.2D, 10.2I, 10.3A, 10.3C, 10.3H, 10.3I, 10.3K, 10.4A, 10.4B, 10.4D, 10.4E, 10.4G, and 10.4L be waived as requirements for submission under the application because they're really not applicable to the application that we've been presented it.
So moved.
J, 10,
Yes.
10-4K, that was wavered,
10-4K was not waived.
not wavered, okay.
There was a motion?
Yep.
Was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this? Does everybody understand what we just did? Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
then we will have a vote. Sandy?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay, those items we just listed, Amber,
Mhm.
we have a list of, and they will not be required to be in the submission section of the application when we receive it. So you'll have to update that application. You won't be required to put those in there.
Mhm.
So the 7.3B issue will have to be resolved through the town office, and we will have to see those receipts
Mhm.
to comply with
I
that.
can't, but I can't send anything till I have a new date.
Well, that you'll take up with the code enforcement officer,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
All right, is anything else on this issue that anybody wants to talk about or?
Yes.
Go ahead, Bill.
What is the, I haven't seen a copy of the appeals committee's decision. Will that be coming to us, or is that, it just occurs to me, is that available online at the town office?
David, are you there?
Yeah, it's available at the town office.
It's available at the town office.
Get everybody a copy. I believe
I
we did that previously, but
That David? I requested it, Bill, and I got a copy of it, so.
Okay.
And it's probably worth looking at too, to give you some guidance as to, the process that was followed. As far as I could tell from the results, no fault was with the planning board on their process or procedures used in the evaluation. It's just that we went through 7.3B and took the information that we had and believed it, when in actuality, there were people who weren't listed as abutters, so they weren't notified.
Okay. Good.
But in the vote that the board has taken to re-review the whole application, I think is a good move, because now everybody that should be notified will be notified, and we'll have receipts of that. So everybody will be aware of the processes and procedures we're using in evaluating the application. I'll mention at this point, the Lincolnville Commercial Site Plan Review Ordinance does not require a public hearing, but the planning board has held many public hearings in the past for commercial site plans because there has been community interest in the application. There will come a point somewhere in the review submission requirements where we will talk about doing a site walk. And at the same time, I think the board might want to discuss the possibility of having a public hearing because of the public interest in this. But we can take that up at the next meeting. Just
So
something.
would there be, sorry, really quickly, this is Amber. So would you like to tour the building? Is that correct then?
Say again?
Did you say you would like to do a site walk site walk?
The option of doing a site walk is outlined in the ordinance. And by the way, Frank, we got into the application. Is this a minor?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a minor. So we have the option of doing a site walk or not. We can take that up, and if we feel we want to go there and look at it, we will. If we feel that we know everything there is to know about it and the scope of everything, we may not. It's up to the planning board to do that. The public hearing is not in the commercial site plan review ordinance, but because the planning board has that authority to do that sort of thing, have held public hearings in the past on commercial site plan applications.
Okay.
So we will reserve the right to do that and vote on that at another meeting. Is there anything else? Okay. There's no questions on this application, then I guess, Amber, if you get back with Frank and you want to be back on an agenda, then that's between the town and you.
Oh, when to get back on the agenda? Okay.
And are you clear on what we've discussed and how you can get the information you need in order to comply with what it is that we're talking about?
Yes, I understand it. I do have some questions on the application itself that I'll have to follow up with Frank on, because the questions were outlined already. And about the ones that we accepted waivers for, but then when we talked about like the drainage and other aspects of it, I went through the questions and answered that. So I need to go back to Frank to see what he actually wants me to do with some of those questions.
Okay.
Is there any value in this particular submission of first doing an evaluation of the file to see that it's complete and valuable?
That's what I will be doing, Bill.
Okay.
But that's, I just have to point out, Amber, nothing will be scheduled again until I see a total complete file that meets the ordinance.
Okay, and that's fine. The only thing I can't provide until the data set is the letters.
Why can't you do that ahead of time?
Until I have a date, I can't send out a letter stating, because the abutter letter has the date and time of the meeting.
That's fine. That really means that come the meeting, prior to the meeting, the complete package will have identified all who the required abutters. That's a minimum submitted application.
Okay.
And then we will provide you with a date, and that should take place, the receipts we should receive before the meeting.
Okay.
Are we all clear?
I think Ovid had some comments.
Yeah, David, I don't know how many requests we have, or anybody has sent email in a request for chat or whatever, but I don't want to extend the meeting too much longer, but if we have a question from somebody, we can probably take that.
Hang on, I'm looking.
Okay.
There is a question from Ovid. Is anyone seeing my hand? I have several questions. Yes, I can speak. Or can I speak?
I can hear you.
Board okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Your way.
All right.
Ovid, you're on mute. You are muted, sir.
There we go. Yep. Sorry. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Real quick, I've known Garrow for 25 years, and he came up here because I was friends with Bob Metcalf, and I introduced him, and he bought the property. Garrow's the CEO of a publicly listed company, and his plan is not to have people transiting through there, no ammo. It's to do really high-end bespoke firearms, like $5,000, $10,000 guns. There's no firing range, and I'm a bit concerned as a neighbor, concerned about my other neighbors, because, for instance, the other day I was shooting on my 400-acre parcel, and the state police showed up because Pat Shannon complained that she heard gunfire. And I mean, we're in Maine, we're not in New York City, right? And this is a couple 100-acre piece of property. There are going to be lots of abutters according to that ordinance. And in reality, the piece of property, it's nothing like Donnie Heald's place, right, who has a federal firearms license. This is, the building Garrow's talking about is thousands of feet away from any abutter, except maybe Sam Mudge and maybe the Garrettsons, but probably even the Garrettsons is far away. So, I mean, I appreciate that the ordinance is the ordinance. I appreciate that the law is the law. Let's make no mistake about it. Everybody talks. We know that. It's a small town. Everybody knows what's going on here. And the public input that I've heard, the feedback is, oh my gosh, she's going to have a firing range. There are going to be people flying in and out of there all the time. And that's everyone's right to be concerned and question these things. But the reality is Garrow's not going to have people that need a bathroom. There's going to be, I mean, if someone comes up there once a week, in reality, you know, that's what's going to happen. So anyway, I just wanted to frame this from the perspective of what's really going on here. And I appreciate you guys have to do what you have to do. But I just wanted to speak on behalf of Garrow. That's all.
Thank you.
I'll reply to Ovid. and I'll also reply to the others that are listening. Quite frankly, this perception is rampant every time the planning board takes up something because there are personal opinions on both sides of some applications as to what they are and what effect they might have. The mission of the planning board is to take an application presented to it by the town office and review that application by the ordinance.
Yep.
The standards for development that are in that ordinance were voted on by the citizens of Lincolnville as the development standards for the town. The mission of the planning board is to review the application against those standards and assure that those standards are met. If they're not, then we can refuse to permit the development. If all the standards are met, then we can't say no.
Right.
It's that simple. We're not judges passing our opinion on something. We are quasi-judicial group who only reviews the application against the standards for development that the residents of Lincolnville have voted on.
Great.
That's our purpose.
Yep.
Well, I understand everybody's personal opinions and which side they're going to be on this, but people have to understand what we're doing. What we're doing
Understood.
is just looking at the app. That's why the application came in, and one portion of the application did not meet what we have in the ordinance, which is what we go by. And that's.
I appreciate that.
If we get to the last period of the ordinance and everything is as it's supposed to be, we can't say no to this application. So I just want to make that point to everybody who's misunderstanding what our mission as planning board panelists is.
Got it. I
Okay.
appreciate that. I understand that.
Right.
I've just heard a lot of gossip about, oh my God, we're going to have a lot of cars going in and out of there. There's going to be ammunition. There's going to be a fire. There's going to be a gun range. And that's just not the reality.
Well,
Garrow's an incredibly private.
Everybody has to read the application.
Yeah.
Everybody has to read the ordinance and then understand that what our duty is as panelists on the planning board.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Where would they do that, Jay?
I'm sorry?
Where would they do that?
What?
Read the application. Is that
The
available?
application public, Frank?
Huh?
Is the application public property?
Of course it is. Once it's received by the town, it's public property. Somebody would have to come in to look at it.
Yeah. The agenda, the application, the ordinance, everything's available to everybody to look at. I will say also, I brought up the proposition of public hearing, even though it's not outlined in the ordinance. But the planning board, if the public hearing is held, will not be having discourse back and forth with participants at a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is for the public to stand before the planning board and voice their opinion or ask questions. And we can limit that discussion to 3 minutes per person if we want to do that. But the questions and the information put forward to the planning board should only be pertinent to the application. We're not going to sit and listen to people talking about this right and that right, and I heard this and this is. We're only going to listen to people who have something to say that's pertinent to the application.
Of course.
We're ruling on.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else, David?
There's a whole list of, excuse me, of people. Let's see. Only comments on the chat have been by the gentleman you were just speaking with. And I don't see any other hands up, you or whatever on the list. I don't know if you want to wait a minute and see if somebody else puts a hand up.
Well, it sounds to me like if we have enough public interest, and apparently we do, that the next planning board meeting will be discussing holding a public hearing on this issue. I think that's only fair to everybody that has questions or wants information. I think a lot of information has come about because of the first review we had of this application. The appeals board decision is public information and knowledge, and we're now in the process of re-reviewing this application over again. So there's a lot of information that's there. I just hope that everybody understands what I just said about what our mission is as far as planning board members. I understand everybody's going to be wanting to express their opinions, but that's not pertinent to what we're supposed to be doing. We need information pertinent to the application, which is for a 350 square foot building that's going to be turned into a gun sales office, basically. So I hope that's clear to everybody. Did you come up with anybody else, David?
Dynamite. Good job.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Oh, Nancy, we have the minute, I'm sorry, is this the discussion on this application over? Okay. Moving on then, the agenda is complete. Nancy, we have the meeting minutes from April 14th. Is that that's the only one we have?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody reviewed those?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions?
no,
No.
Do we have a motion?
motion to approve the
Before the
minutes.
motion, accept them.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, so any discussion? Voting a motion to accept the minutes of April 14th of the planning board. Scott, Sandy,
Yes,
Scott,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
and Dick.
Yes.
Okay, minutes are accepted for April 14th. Any other further discussion? Motion to adjourn.
second,
All in favor?
Okay. Thank you very much, Frank. We
All right,
appreciate it.
That's unanimous vote, Nancy.
Jay, thank you so much.
All right,
Good job.
thanks, everybody.
Good evening.
Take care.